As my mate Neil once famously said as he led us into that bar in Thailand, an experience that I'm still having therapy for, sometimes it's good to try new things. I mean, it definitely wasn't in that case, let me tell you. But it's a lesson that I've tried to apply to my reviewing career nonetheless. Hence the reason I'm sitting here talking about Wicked.
Really?
I mean, it seemed only fair considering I made a pretty snarky video about the film's star and the potential box office fallout from her weird behaviour, but goofy social and insufferable press tours aside, seriously, what the hell are you guys even doing? I figured it was only right to separate the art from the artist here and give the movie a shot. And here's the funny thing, it's actually pretty good. There's a couple of big caveats to that for sure. If you're not a fan of musicals in general or the Wicked stage show in particular, then I don't imagine there's much here that will win you over. But judging it on its own merits as a piece of musical theatre, I have to admit that Wicked is a pretty impressive production. The song and dance numbers are all faithfully ported over from the added flamboyance and effects you'd expect from a big Hollywood movie. The world of Oz, with all its vibrant colours, wacky architecture and outlandish technology, is brilliantly recreated on screen in a way we've never quite seen before. The cast all deliver solid and surprisingly heartfelt, including Ariana Grande, who I would have expected to be a weak link in something like this. In short, Wicked is a big, colourful, flamboyant, gloriously campy and over-the-top production in the best tradition of the Hollywood musical. It's definitely not for everyone, and at well over 2.5 hours long, it feels pretty sluggish and self-indulgent. Credit where credit's due, it's pretty entertaining for what it is. The film acts as a prequel for the events of The Wizard of Oz. Glinda, who will one day become the Good Witch of Oz, is a young woman just starting out at Shiz University. And in case you're wondering what that noise is, it's the sound of a dozen writers furiously typing up the script for the inevitable. Anyway, I digress. Glinda is your typical popular girl archetype. Beautiful, shallow and self-absorbed, and well on her way to being the top of the social pyramid at Shiz. That is, until she's forced to share a room with Elphaba, a mysterious young woman who's been shunned and bullied her whole life because of her green skin. What the fuck? You live in a world with talking animals, magical sorcery, and emerald cities, and you're telling me you're freaked out by a human with different coloured skin? Bullshit! Jesus, I've had acid trips that make more sense than the average day. Anyway, whatever. At first, the two of them are at loggerheads and do everything they can to make each other's lives miserable, but as time passes, they develop a kind of grudging respect that eventually blossoms into real friendship. And possibly more.
I'll do the fingering.
But the arrival of a dashing prince creates a love triangle that threatens to pull them apart, and lurking in the background is a shadowy plot of Oz so they can never talk again.
You serious?
Just go with it, okay? And because Elphaba starts to manifest magical powers, she's summoned by Jeff Goldblum to join him in the Emerald City. I mean, I think he's technically playing the Wizard of Oz, but I'm pretty sure the director himself and then ran with it. Anyway, Jeff Goldblum wants to use Elphaba's powers to cast actual magic spells because he's basically just a fraud who relies on smoke and mirrors to maintain the illusion that he's wise and powerful. And I'm sorry if that kind of ruins the story for you, but if you still haven't caught up on a plot point from a movie made in 1939, I don't know what to tell you, man. Needless to say, Elphaba declines his offer and ends up getting turned into a scapegoat and forced to go on the run. And that's where the movie ends, so that they can finish the story and part more money next time.
Son of a...
And in terms of my criticisms, I think that's as good a place as any to start with this film. Remember how the Hobbit trilogy felt more stretched than Courtney Cox's face because it spun the material from a single short novel into 3 bloated and unnecessary movies? Well, problem here. I mean, it's definitely not as bad, but the film still chugs along at times to the point where you start to get kind of restless for the plot to get going again, and it ends on a weirdly abrupt and unsatisfying cliffhanger. The stage show told a complete story with a satisfying emotional payoff in less time than the length of this single movie, which only progresses as far as the intermission. And well, just like Tatiana, you do start to feel that extra length after a while. Musicals have a long tradition of being pretty campy and flamboyant, for obvious reasons, and Wicked is definitely no exception. Like, basically every character acts like a more hyperactive version of Associate Man, and whether that kind of thing gets on your nerves is likely to have a big impact on your enjoyment of the film. Performance-wise, I've got no issues to speak of. Cynthia Erivo does a great job as Elphaba, portraying a slightly more vulnerable and humorous version of the character than her serious, straight-laced counterpart on the stage. Michelle Yeoh makes hard work of covered most of her dialogue, and the director's smart enough to keep her singing to a minimum, which I think was a good call in retrospect. But it's Ariana Grande that really surprised me. Obviously she's got no problem with the musical numbers, but she's also a natural in front of the camera, surprising amount of depth and nuance to her performance. Jesus Christ though, someone please get her a couple of cheeseburgers, because she looks like a strong breeze would blow her away. Anyway, the two women have really good chemistry together, and overall I've got no issues with their work. Weirdly, I also didn't get a sense that the movie was trying too hard to preach to the audience. Yeah, there's a core theme of learning to accept people who are different, and the tragic hero who tries the system, but those are pretty universal themes that anyone can relate to. Basically what I'm saying here is that unlike something like Barbie, I didn't get the sense that the filmmakers had a big political chip on their shoulder that they were trying to force on the audience. On that subject though, I think Wicked and Barbie do have one very important thing in common. They both understand their audience and how to appeal to them, instead of trying to make some wishy-washy generic slop that doesn't really inspire anyone. You're making shit tons of money as a result, so good job. I don't imagine this film will appeal to many people in my audience, but I do think it's only fair to give it an honest review, and well, here it is. If you're into this kind of thing, or you're willing to go into it with an open mind, then Wicked will make all your dreams come true. And if not, it's probably best to save your money and go watch something else. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.